Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to Women Who Really Rock. I'm your host, Carmen Milagro. Women Who Really Rock is designed to showcase women and the people supporting them who are doing incredible work all around the world in all different aspects. Our show is available on the Divas That Care network, and you'll find us on the www.divasthatcare.com website. Today's Women Who Really Rock guest is none other than Jen Oloo. Jen is a powerhouse professional woman who's not only rocking it as a VP and a mom, but she's also helping to make the world a better place by bringing playtime and just pure, simple joy back into the lives of families everywhere. She's the creator of Yahooty Who, and she's joined us from Southern California. Please welcome Jen Oloo. Jen, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us today.
Hey, Carmen. Thanks so much for having me. Wow, that was quite an intro.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you approved. And, you know, it actually really sort of encompasses for me some of the things that I'd love to talk to you about. Like, you do many, many things, like so many other women, you know, in the world, that we all wear multiple hats, whether you're a mom or not. But for today's purposes, let's focus on two major roles that you play in your daily life. Tell us about Jen Oloo Mommy, how you've defined that. What's your definition of mommy that suits your lifestyle, and how do you make it work for you?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, so I have a 5-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy, and I have another girl coming on the way, so she'll join us in November.
Congratulations.
Yes, very exciting. Thank you. And I am an older mom, right? I'm what my doctor called a geriatric mom.
Oh, don't you love it?
It's so funny. I told her that was clearly not made up by a woman.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah. You know, motherhood to me, like the one word that comes to my brain when you ask that is flexibility. Most of the time I feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants, but as long as I can be flexible and just kind of, you know, roll with the punches, literally sometimes, then I can do all of the things that I really want to achieve as a mom. And most of that just relates to raising good humans, you know, and
right.
Feeling like, you know, we're bringing positive people into the world that are going to contribute to make it better.
Right. And what about your role as vice president? I mean, just the words alone, right, carry a certain weight with them. I mean, you travel, you're away from your children. Does that bring some conflict, or how do you define your vice president role to blend in with your role as a mom?
Yeah, I feel really, really lucky because I started for a technology company when I was about 27, and I was kidless and climbing the corporate ladder, and just a real, go-getter. And I worked for that company for about 10 years, and in one stint, and by the end of that 10 years, I was the executive vice president, actually, of client services. And I was traveling a ton, and life was really kind of nuts for me. And then I had 2 kids by the time I left there. And so I took 2 years, and I worked on Yahooty, which we'll talk more about for sure. And I got kind of my health on track with my eating and workouts and things like that. And I really had a major shift in my life. And when I feel like things are presented to you when you're ready for them. And so I was really fortunate because earlier this year, that same company who I'd worked for so long approached me about this vice president role, which is, for me, a much more manageable role as opposed to what I had been doing for them before, where I was running a whole division and that sort of thing. So even though I'm a VP at this marketing technology company and I love it, it's not, it works for me, and they're incredibly supportive about, letting me work remotely, and I travel, but not nearly as much as I did in the prior, role with a lot more responsibility. So it works. And the other thing too is that my kids have been raised to have that same mindset of flexibility. So they know that when the door is closed, like, I'm in a meeting, and my husband is fantastic, and he runs interference when I need it, and certainly when I travel. So I feel, I just feel really, really lucky that, that opportunity was presented to me at a time where it made sense in my life, and it's just the right fit.
Right. And it sounds to me like you were much more, like sometimes I think people aren't afraid to ask for what they need, especially women. And I think that is something that I'm surmising that you were able, in your return back to this company, knowing their culture, knowing them a little bit, you were able to sort of, negotiate what works for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. Like, just to take a step back, I totally agree that a lot of people, and not just women, but maybe more so women, don't ask for what they really, really need. And I think sometimes that's fear-based. I think sometimes it's just not knowing maybe what they need.
Sure.
And the 2 years that I wasn't working for a corporation, I spent a lot of time thinking about what is it that I need, and what is it that my family needs. And I really got in touch with that. And so you're right. When I came back, I was able to say, this is what would make sense for me. And it was great because it made sense for them too. And so it just worked out. But there are those opportunities out there. Like, I guess that's one thing I would say, to anybody listening, women especially, women with families especially, is that it does exist. There's a lot of times in my life where I felt like, oh, that's impossible, that thing that I'm dreaming of or needing is impossible. And it does exist,
And right. And when you're able to find it and make it blend together, I mean, let's go on to this other faction of your life. Like, you've got so much on your plate. You homeschool your children. You're the VP.
Yeah.
You have these priorities in your life. But with everything else that you do, you're also the author and creator of Yahooty Who you mentioned earlier. How do you time? Well, first of all, let's share with our listeners what is Yahooty Who? How do you find the time to focus on this project? And is it safe to say that this is your creative passion project?
Sure. So Yahooty is a story that my grandpa used to tell me when I was little, and just to take it all the way back, I was probably about 4 years old, and he took me to the refrigerator, and he opened the door, and he said, "Did you see him?" And I was like, "Did I see who?" And he said, "Did you see Yahooty? Yahooty turned on the light in the fridge when you opened the door." And I was like, "What?" Like, and so then I spent the afternoon making my grandmother nuts because I was hanging on the fridge door and trying to open it and really fast to see Yahooty. And, she was always telling me to close the fridge. So it was, and I think that aspect was kind of fun for my grandpa too, because he probably liked seeing my grandmother get a little irritated. She was very, very proper. So that was where Yahooty came from, and it was the way that my grandfather played with us, and he had a lot of grandkids, probably 15 grandkids or something. And we all got to share in that Yahooty, playtime. And the cool thing was we could play with Yahooty no matter where we were. So when I got older and had kids of my own, I found that introducing them to Yahooty was a great way to play with them regardless of what was happening in our lives, because it was nuts, you know? You know, I mean, a lot of time, especially like when my son was younger, you know, and I had bigger roles and in corporate environments, it was hard to find time to play, you know? And so the great thing about Yahooty is that you can look for him no matter where you are. And so I did, and, you know, and my kids loved Yahooty, and I had a couple of friends who I had grown up with kind of in the corporate world, and we were all doing creative marketing together. And one of them said, you know, we should do something fun with all these creative marketing talents that we have, and something fun for our kids, and maybe leave them a legacy of some kind. And so we decided we would write a book. And we were talking about different ideas, and I shared Yahooty with him. And so he went home and he did the fridge thing with his kids. And he called me the next morning and he said, Jen, this is it. My kids are nuts looking for Yahooty. I mean, he said they were even making like YouTube videos where they're stalking Yahooty around the house and, you know, taking you on a journey of trying to find this thing. And so that's where Yahooty came from and kind of how he came to be. And, you know, as far as focusing, I think that it's just like all things. I mean, I have, you know, partners that support that effort as well. And I have my family, of course, to draw from. So all of my cousins are, you know, really, and my brothers are really excited that we brought Yahooty to life. And so they're always happy to contribute ideas or, you know, things like that. And
you're bringing everyone together. Yeah, you're bringing everyone together using imagination and play. What a concept in this day and age.
We got to play. I wish life were just a party. I tell my 9-year-old that all the time. I'm like, if you would just behave, we could have a party every day.
Well, that's an incentive.
Oh, my gosh, I wish it worked.
But you literally, I mean, honestly, when, you know, all joking aside and all fun aside, but there's this other beautiful thing that I see that you know, when I hear about Yahooty Who, you are changing the world. Like, you're changing the world one Yahooty at a time by you're reminding children to be children, and you're reminding their parents the importance of play and imagination and joy, you know, like being together as a family. Like, why do you feel that, especially in this, you know, in the times that we're living in, why do you feel that this is so important?
I feel like in my life, and I've been so privileged too to have a really close-knit family. I feel like that when you have that, it just sets you up to be not just more successful, but just more caring and open to, you know, the good things in the world.
Right.
So, and you're going to make me cry, but it's and part of that's because I'm 6 months pregnant. I cried everything. But we're just about to release this new Yahooty Who book called Celebrating Differences.
Yes. And
it's all about a kid who celebrates. Has a different background than the kids that he's friends with, and they celebrate a different holiday in his house. And so his friends come over and they don't understand the holiday and they don't have fun. And so he feels really bad about it because he feels different, and so the Yahooties help them to understand the holiday and so that they can play and have fun together and realize that, differences are good and we can embrace them. But, and we don't, we don't claim to be parenting experts or anything like that, but what we want to do is provide a platform for parents and kids to have deeper conversations, And I think that if we if we spend time talking to our kids, it'll do. I think it does everybody a world of good. I know that for me, sure, there's a lot of times where my kid's asking 100 questions and I could tell them to go Google it, but I don't, because I think that communication is so important, and I want that for more people. And I know we're busy, right? Like, we're crazy. We're busier than we've ever been in history. Technology is supposed to maybe lighten our load a little bit, but it seems like it just enables us to pile more stuff on. Like, I don't know if you feel that way, but I definitely feel that way.
Oh, for sure. It's like this extra added layers of stuff, It's like we were supposed to become paperless, right? But for me, I feel like it's added more. But, I love what you're saying about this new book that's coming out. When is the new book coming out? And tell us a little bit more about do you have more than just books for children and families, and where do they find more information? How do our listeners connect with you and Yahooty Who?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think the first thing is you have to know how to spell it. So Yahooty Who is YAHOOTYWHO. And you can go to YahootyWho.com, of course, and stay up to date there. And we have, this will be the second book. The first book was called An Illustrated Participant Story, and it's kind of an introduction to Yahooty. So if you don't know who Yahooty is, I recommend getting the first book first, because that's kind of the base for, all the stories that are going to follow. And then we also have plushes and sock puppets, which are really, really fun. We find that kids, especially our younger audience, like we target probably 3 to 6 year olds is our, sweet spot. They love the sock puppets, because some of them have a hard time communicating for themselves, but then when you put a sock puppet on their hand, like, you can't get them to quiet down. And it's great.
Absolutely.
So it's something that just helps to make everybody, cut loose a little bit and be able to have that playtime that's so important. So YahootyWho.com. And the books are also going to be, the first one is on Amazon.com. The second one will be on Amazon.com in an ebook form probably in 2 weeks, and then it'll be available in hard. Yeah, and then it'll be available in hard copy probably in about 60 days, I'm guessing. So it's a little more lead time. Yeah, it's really exciting. And we'll do an audiobook. We do also have a Spanish version of the first book in an ebook format. So, and if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read them for free on your Kindle Unlimited. So that's pretty cool.
That's really exciting. Any chance we're going to ever see some animated Yahooty Who's?
Yeah, absolutely. We're actually working on that now. And, it's so interesting, like, with the way that content is changing online and then through all these television providers. And so we're working on a pilot, and we're hoping that we can pull in a partner. So, whether that's Amazon or Netflix or Hulu or, any of these companies that have streaming services, that's kind of what our next endeavor is. So that's where we're focused from a business perspective.
And this is all for one project in addition to everything else you do. You are amazing.
Flexibility. Thank you.
That's amazing. I think what we were able to do, I hope what we were able to do today is just sort of share, some insight into what is possible when you give yourself the opportunity to be flexible and kind of roll with the punches, like you said, but at the same time, take all these different directions, because I think it's safe to say probably the majority of our listeners are women, and the majority of these women are probably sitting around thinking, how does everyone else do it? We all wear multiple hats. We all have dreams and wishes and projects. And I think just the fact that you took some time out of your busy schedule and shared with us some of this insight into your life is so valuable and so helpful. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for joining us today on Women Who Really Rock.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for having me. I love you and love what you do, and I feel really happy to be here and talking to you anytime.
Thank you. I just want, I want this feeling of like girlfriends chatting and sharing information, and I think we did that. I love the fact that, you are literally changing the world and bringing joy and laughter and playtime. I think especially in these times where we could all use a little bit more of that, in my opinion. I love you. I just think that you really rock, and thank you again for joining me.
Thank you, Carmen.
And everyone, again, we're gonna share this information on our social media, and you'll get the links to YahootyWho.com. You'll get all this information. Our listeners, I just want to thank you for tuning into Women Who Really Rock, this podcast. I hope that we're able to uplift and inspire you, and while we showcase other women and people who are doing good, happy work all around the globe. Until next time, I hope you are really rocking it too. And remember, you can always find Women Who Really Rock here on the Divas That Care Network. On the website, it's www.divasthatcare.com. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day.